wandered far, from daybreak to the twilight gloaming, I come back with the evening star. Solace of my roaming, be thou my haven when I speed homing. Come home at eventide, like birds that weary of their roaming, and I would hasten to thy side,
in the stillness of the light's radiance, I am come. Comfort ineffable, glorious, transcendent, and exalting I bear in my hand. It is my wish to bestow to all life upon earth, as an emissary of the great cosmic light, the fullness of immortal comfort, the flame of comfort, and the presence of immortal life. Precious ones, mankind today retain many useless concepts which have not set them free. But the concept of pure truth, in all of its great revelation, is able to exalt mankind into the fullness of the limitless light of God. The light of God surrounds men and surrounds women, even as the ocean surrounds the fish that swim therein, and yet mankind often are not perceptive to the unfolding currents of the divine light that swirl around them. They continue to walk in shadows. Yet I am come this day, together with others of the ascended host, to bring you a spirit of light and comfort, the spirit of truth and the spirit of divine abundance. Have you thought, beloved ones, upon the fact that your own God presence is the source of all your abundance? That the source of divine light is the source of all outer abundance everywhere? The earth today, in the hemisphere in which you abide, is radiant with the perfection of spring in many parts of this nation. It is beginning to dawn. The light of the cosmic spring is beginning to dawn in the hearts of mankind. The long-awaited golden age of beloved Saint Germain is manifesting in part, but the day will come when the full glory and the tide of that surging presence shall exalt all men into a realization that God desires eternal comfort for all. As I speak to you this morning, I call now to the angels of comfort to manifest themselves in your consciousness, to bring you a greater feeling of the peace of the universal love of God. The harshness of human ideas must evaporate before the light of the sun of the incoming presence of God. Your own mighty I Am presence is the dominant factor within your being, beloved ones, when you open the windows to admit the divine current into your life, that you may breathe and partake of the immortal flame of the Holy Spirit, which I am. I am the radiant manifestation of the Holy Spirit for all life upon this planet. And it is my desire to teach mankind the necessary respect for the holy gifts which God has bestowed upon them. You today are garbed in a mortal form which required millenniums to produce. Mankind do not recognize the vast eras and epochs of life in the past, wherein at cosmic levels services were performed to create for mankind those items which he himself was not yet able to produce. Mankind, seeking to unravel the mysteries of alchemy, do not recognize that centuries and millenniums pass, while at inner levels there is created some specific blessing for an individual. Take, for example, your physical form, beloved ones. Most of mankind recognize that the physical form has a period of gestation. This period of gestation is reckoned by time as men count it. Have you thought upon the tremendous period of time wherein the builders of form, in response to the divine idea, not in one physical day as you now count it, but in the spiritual days of God, labored and served to produce the musculoskeletal frame of man? Beloved ones, even the physical form has required a tremendous amount of nourishment and outpouring of love from the heart of God. The spirit of man, beloved ones, the immortality, the flame within man, is born from the self-same substance of substance as God's own presence. And therefore your own mighty I Am presence is the source of that individualized God presence of each one of you. But it is in the lesser emanations that great skill was required. For these, the formed in man, required time to externalize, far greater than is reckoned by man in the outer spheres. The descent of the light of God through the 7 spheres of density has required a tremendous amount of time as you count it. And yet today, people impatiently wonder when they are unable to produce some specific quality of grace in their worlds which they feel they ought to be able to produce. Beloved ones, I heartily agree that mankind ought to be able to produce on the instant those miracles of cosmic Christ healing and perfection which would free men forever from all drudgery and misery of every form. Man ought to be able to produce it by direct invocation from the heart of God. And so has it been done. For upon this planet Countless miracles have been produced through the hands of blessed individuals who have unfolded their latent spiritual powers, have offered themselves as a chalice to the presence of life, and have served mankind unsung or unknown in many cases. Beloved ones, this does not make any difference for you, however, for each one of you have a right to claim your own divine birthright, that you might also manifest the fullness of that power which will give you your own freedom and victory, to be the authority in your world, to govern all outer conditions. And this is the will and wish of your own mighty I Am Presence, the will and wish of the power of life within you, which beats and sustains your heart. I am come this morning to bestow upon you, within the force field of your being, that feeling of divine comfort which knows that the great power of divine patience which framed the worlds and all substance and energy is able to give you the patience to wait for every divine manifestation to occur in your worlds. Blessed and beloved ones, you have lived in this physical form far less than 100 years, and yet you seem to think that you ought to be able to dominate it completely, whereas mankind have lived in discord, embodiment after embodiment, in complete ignorance of their own great divine self. Precious ones of the light, you have made remarkable progress in a short period of time. You have expanded many of your spiritual faculties until today you are able to say unto this or that mountain, "Be thou removed," and it is so. And you are able to say on behalf of this or that life stream, "I call to you, beloved mighty I Am Presence within the heart of the great central sun, to lift this burden from that soul and that individual." And it is so. And as the mist is dispersed from before the face of the sun, so the wondrous power of light does produce the perfection of God within your own worlds in response to the spoken word and your power of invocation. Blessed and beloved ones, progress has been made in your own individual worlds, and you ought to rejoice in that which is done. For you stand erect in physical forms, blessed ones, having and retaining within your physical forms the breath of the Holy Spirit. You draw in and inhale the powerful air, bearing currents of regeneration into your physical form. You imbibe this holy substance, and you stand upright, endowed with a part of the mind of God. Well, beloved ones, the comfort of God which I desire to convey to you today is a spirit of rejoicing in that which has been done. But I also would commend you for that which you have done, and yet I would remind you that it is but a step upon the way, and I do not desire to see you express complacency or the idea that you have achieved or attained your full perfection, for this would not be truth in the outer realm of manifestation. But, beloved ones, within the great divine self of you, you are outpicturing the full radiance of your own mighty I Am Presence, and that presence will sustain you through every hour of need until you stand shining and radiant in the fullness of your immortal, flaming divine body. Do you know, beloved ones, what the full meaning of that is? It means, beloved ones, that you have elected consciously to outpicture that purpose for which you came into embodiment, and that you have taken dominance over your entire physical form. It means that you have taken dominance over your mind, your world, and your affairs, and that the mighty spirit of life within you is in action, and is the comforting presence of life through you, expressing the love of God to all that you meet, and contact until you become, as I am, a comforter, a comforting presence, and the full manifestation of the whole I Spirit, the Spirit of life that sustains the universe and is the fullness of all perfection always. Beloved ones, mankind today have many strange ideas about the ascended masters. Some seem to think that we sit, as it were, upon a mountaintop or in a crow's nest somewhere, gazing down upon mankind and wishing that mankind would somehow find their own freedom. Well, let me tell you, beloved ones, that the great ascended masters at times perform services for mankind that they seem wholly unwilling to perform for themselves. I tell you, beloved ones, the best illustration perhaps that I could convey to you this morning is the illustration of beloved Jesus taking the towel and wrapping it around himself and kneeling to his disciples while he washed their feet. Blessed and beloved ones, I tell you that heaven has washed the feet of the children of men in the loving hope that those individuals would thereby learn that required humility of the great law, which would enable them to express the fullness of love to one another in a manner of a Christed being, in the full accomplishment of the victorious resurgence of the resurrection spirit of the living Christ. Beloved ones, the first man, Adam, is ever of the earth earthy, and he manifests those experiences which cause discord and unrest. The Spirit of the living Son of God is a comforter who is willing, if necessary, to wash the feet of mankind in order to raise him into a realization of his own divine identity. I come to you this day bearing a charge of the divine radiance, bearing a charge of divine comfort, bearing a charge of spiritual experience which I impart to you as a high priest would a sacred coal from the altars of heaven. I hope that you will breathe upon it as I have, and will fan the flame of that wondrous spiritual spark into breathing, living, holy awareness, so that that which you experience in your hearing this day will be an inner experience of the law, whereby you become the victor over the atoms and cells of your physical form, over the thoughts of your mind, and over the tranquility of your spirit, to express that Christ victory which speaks to outer conditions and declares, "Peace, be still. Peace, be still, and the elements of your world will obey. I am the Maha Chohan. I come to serve the cause of heaven. I invoke within you a spirit of comfort to others, that they may recognize the purpose for which they took embodiment, and perceiving that purpose may move forward in the light to unite upon earth the body of God, that as above so below becomes a fiat of living truth in action. In the name of the risen and ascended Jesus Christ, I take my leave and bless you with the pure peace of God which passeth all understanding. I thank you and bid you good afternoon.
And thy blessed retreat in the
thy great wisdom, help us now to unveil this one truth eternal, God's light cannot fail. Master dear Hilarion, in thy name we stand. Help to the agnostics, skeptics now befriend. Atheists who need thy love, let thy flame expand in the hearts of all our people, till each one shall stand. Ever God's divine plan revealing, here naught else can abide. When God's truth and freedom, rulers side by side.
I bring you the greetings of the brotherhood at Crete, in the transcendence of immortality. Beloved ones, the thought of mankind which borders on cosmic vanity, deigning to take notice of the ascended ones, and choosing to accept mankind's own self-imposed fiat of death, is a tragedy that need not continue. For the immortality of God surrounds the permanent atom of every man's being, enfolding him with life everlasting. I am come this day to remind you that you are immortal, deathless beings, born of the sacred fire, and beings who are sustained by the love breath of Almighty God, sent forth by the power of the Holy Spirit, released by the essence of the 3 times 3 into manifestation to fulfill a perfect plan, the plan of your own being. Wisdom loves her children, especially they who hearken to her voice. Those who hear day after day and hour after hour the voice of God without heeding are not being wise. They are ignoring, at least temporarily, those precepts of immortality which gave us our freedom. Some of you may recall during my Pauline embodiment how that I came to a certain hill and beheld an altar upon which were inscribed the words, "To an unknown God." Beloved ones, those of you who have been given the instruction concerning the I Am law of life, know the God of your own being in part, and you are most fortunate because you have given to you a greater understanding than has hitherto ever been released upon this planet. Beloved ones, the jewels of immortal perfection, the jewels of divine ideas, are often simple in design, but contain within them the most intricate and delicate radiance from the very heart of God, which could ever be conceived of or imagined even by the heart of an angelic being. Think you then, beloved ones, that there is anything trite or small about spiritual ideas, about spiritual callings? I tell you, beloved ones, the vocation of being a son of God and a daughter of God is the highest to which anyone can ever be called. The difficulties experienced by men today is because of the divisions in consciousness which they experience. the fractions and factions of truth, which are amplified by those who desire to divide, but, beloved ones, are never amplified by those who desire to unite. The ascended masters desire to bring to mankind greater understanding, which will weld in the body of God a family unit of divine love fashioned in perfect divine order, where harmony is sustained in the body, where harmony is sustained in the mind. The mighty powers of the Spirit of life can be expanded. By their expansion, they can carry mankind on their wake into celestial realms, where man can easily, and I say more easily, put aside the problems which beset him and the weights which hold him from entering into his glory. Therefore, beloved ones, it is essential that mankind recognize the cosmic push, recognize the calling of God, recognize the voice within their own heart that speaks unto them, desiring to heal all their diseases, desiring to penetrate through the murkiness of human consciousness and bestow upon them the clarity of the light of God that never fails. I am speaking to you today to encourage you to accept the high calling which you have received, to encourage you to recognize it, to give you patience to wait for greater understanding, and to sustain in you an action of the sacred fire that shall help and assist the great white brotherhood in uniting among men all those whose hearts yearn for the complete freedom which Saint Germain has so long desired to keep nurtured in the hearts of men. This has not always been easy. It has been fraught with some difficulty, beloved ones, even from the higher octaves. For you must bear in mind that while we ourselves are quite free indeed, it is as we contact your world that we encounter encumbrances. And some of these encumbrances and weights are most entrenched in human consciousness. They are almost like the stone which covered the tomb in which the beloved Christ was lain. Beloved ones, you will recall that it took the services of an angel to move aside this great stone. Beloved ones, mankind must recognize that they together and united can move aside many stones. But by calling upon the angelic hosts, by accepting the fullness of that which heaven offers, mankind may find their freedom at last in the self-sustaining love ray of Almighty God. My grace is sufficient for thee. These words spoken of old have comforted many a heart. The grace of the immortal presence of life is sufficient for each life stream. The grace of God is able to cut each one free from every impediment and give them their immortal freedom. But accept the fullness of our love, and you have a sustaining action of the sacred fire, which becomes a mounting momentum as it is nourished by your attention. The attention of mankind must be exalted out of the physical octave of consciousness, out of the mundane, out of those specifics which have acted as weights to beset mankind, and into the immortal kingdom of life in which we abide. Mankind so frequently asks questions which seem so ridiculous to those who know the answers, but do not seem so ridiculous to the individual who conceives them. For example, in the time when I was embodied as St. Paul, many were concerned about the resurrection and the form of the resurrection. Many were concerned as to how they would look when they came forth from the grave. Well, beloved ones, I answered them in my Pauline epistles. And today, beloved ones, I am giving additional assistance to mankind to understand that the formless love of God may take many forms, some with which man is familiar, and others which may be totally unknown or unconceived of by the heart of man. This does not matter, beloved ones, for God is the great Creator, the master potter, who upon the molding wheel of life fashions various vessels according to some specific purpose. When the purpose for which the life stream was conceived and dedicated seems to become frustrated or thwarted, there are times when it is necessary to break the clay vessel of individual form and return that clay back to the formless state from whence it came, in order that it may be utilized in a more noble vessel, in a more noble manner, so that mankind may express to a higher degree the purposes for which they came forth from the heart of God. Ever so frequently, when some individual is removed from the screen of life, there occurs upon this planet some lamentation and heartache to those individuals who may be familiar with that individual and may have developed a tremendous love for them. Well, beloved ones, the immortality of life means that man did not begin to exist a few years ago upon his natal day. Neither does he terminate his existence with the passing of his physical form from the screen of life. With its dissolution, man does not end. There is no terminus of the immortality of life. There is the deathless resurrection and the resurgence of immortality, which according to the great cosmic law has expressed in re-embodiment after re-embodiment, in the hope that each form would express more nobler than the last. But, beloved ones, mankind have not always used these opportunities in embodiment wisely and well, and therefore they have become creators of themselves. They have aborted the Creator's image, which was a cosmic blueprint, a pattern which they were to build according to, and they have chosen to utilize the gift of free will to externalize a terror and a creation of mortality, which was an abortion of immortal principles. Beloved ones, they have fashioned them themselves according to the Creator's art, and man is responsible for his form, for his shape, for the creation of his own ideas. If man does not happen to love the creation which he himself has made, he is privileged to call to the sacred fire to renew or to make all things new. He is privileged to call to the heart of God for a greater awareness of the immortal perfection of the original cosmic blueprint for his life stream. He is privileged to call for a healing, for a resurgence of the condition which plagues him. He is privileged to make this call, and God is ever disposed to answer the call from every sincere heart. The call does compel the answer, and mankind have but to open their own hands of acceptance, and they will be filled from the hand of him who desires to help his creation, to help them with a gift of greater understanding, to help them with a gift of greater love, to help them with a gift of greater achievement, that they may more closely create in accordance with the principles of divine harmonium by which all healing is accomplished. As I am now speaking to you, I have desired to create a matrix of perfection, and therefore I am creating a thought form of perfection which I shall not describe to you. This thought form I shall radiate through you so that it shall pass from the front of this room to the rear of this room. And as it passes through your four lower bodies, it is intended to create a certain consciousness of harmony within you. This consciousness of harmony will abide within you and assist you in bringing and producing harmony in your own world if you will turn to me periodically and ask that I expand the thought form of harmony which I have created within you. Beloved ones, I have now created this matrix of harmony, and I am releasing it from the front of this room, and it is passing through the entire atmosphere and slowly moving toward the back of the room. As it contacts your world, it will pass through your physical form as easily as someone can wave a wand through the air. It finds no impediment whatsoever as it passes, and it carries within it the full momentum of my divine compassion for mankind. It is a part of the eternal manna which descended from heaven to the children of Israel, and it is a real and tangible substance calculated to give you a gift this day that you may share throughout the rest of this embodiment with those you meet, a matrix of healing, a thought form of divine harmony, which you need not see or visualize in order to utilize. For your inner being knows the nature of this thought form, and your inner being is able to draw from it those energies and necessary requirements of the great law, which will enable you to go forth in the name of God and render a service unto your fellow man. Beloved ones, the Brotherhood at Crete ever desire to extend the scientific accomplishments of our spiritual endeavors to the entire world. We desire to engender within men the faith that makes them whole. We desire to engender within men the love for the Holy Spirit and the love for the kingdom of heaven, which will make mankind aware of the mighty blueprint of his cosmic identity, the force of Almighty God, which sustains the creation and restores it in full power to the full glory of immortal life. An ever-living presence is your holy beloved I Am presence. You are that presence as you drink into it and once again anew imbibe the Holy Eucharist from the body of God. Take, eat. This is my body which was broken for you. So oft as ye take it, do it in remembrance of me. This is my blood, the one life that flows through all, sustaining all in the bonds of God's immortal presence, which I am. May the peace of the Brotherhood at Crete, the scientific achievements of spiritual endeavors, be made manifest in you and in your consciousness, lifting you upon the crest of the wave until you behold the gleams cherished by those who love light here upon earth and cherished in heaven, because it represents the love of the light that goes forth to the lambs of God to direct them to the way back unto the Father's house, to the safety of the sheepfold, and to the heart of the eternal presence that beats and sustains their heart. I thank you and bid you good afternoon. constancy, thou luminous and shining orb, let us proclaim the beauty of constancy. A constancy, beloved ones, that is expressed best in your own mighty I Am presence, and is best expressed in the universal order of perfection as it proceeds from the heart, the head, and the hand of the All-Father within the great central Son. I, Paul, am come to you this day charged with the beauty of the eternal radiance and the full knowledge of that beauty and that perfection which is the life present within each one of you and within all. How sacred then is the Lord's table. How sacred then is the communion of saints. How sacred then is the precious offering of each moment, sanctified as it is with each heartbeat. The voice of God speaking within you and saying unto you, I am thy life, I am thy life, I am thy life. This sustained, constant presence of life within you is the gift which your own mighty I Am presence has given you. To cherish it, to adore it, to give your all to it, to life, to God, is the supreme sacrifice that is beautiful to behold, because there is no sense of sacrifice. There is only the sense of sweet surrender, whereby the individual, commending himself unto God, finds again a home of such infinite love as to bring peace everywhere that one walks. Beloved ones, I would like to extol this morning the beauty of many of the treasured offerings of life. I would like to extol those offerings in order that you might build a momentum of reverence for them and thereby draw unto yourself more of those chalice gifts which heaven has given you. Precious ones, life is an opportunity. It is an opportunity of wonder, a wonder of expectancy, whereby each moment unrevealed holds the hush of expectancy to the waiting soul, waiting for the quickening of the manifest will, love, and intelligence of God into that moment. Mankind, bored as it were by the empty nothingness of human vacuums, have come to realize that in the search for themselves they find the full beauty of life, the full orbed splendor of the divine radiance, and man, basking in that radiance, are charged with the light of God that does not fail. The companionship of those ascended ones who once wore mortal form and now wear immortal vestments. Know then, beloved ones, that the heart of God longs to bestow upon all the treasures of his illimitable storehouse, a storehouse surfeited itself in splendor, charged with magnanimous grace. Oh, far more wondrous than the heart and mind of man can conceive of. Abiding then within this wondrous jewel of immortality, know, O man, that in the beauty of the present, all the splendor of the past, all the nobility of the past, all the grandeur of noble lives, and of splendid spiritual accomplishments is yours as the treasure of this moment. And beloved ones, all of the treasure of the future is yours, beheld by you in the presence of life, mirrored there. It is yours today, yours to treasure, to share, to hold, to have. Yours, and no man can take it from you. Yours, and no man from you can this treasure sunder. O beloved ones, I would speak to you today in the glory of that love, with only the solemn note of warning to let no man take the beauty of thy crown. Beloved ones, there is upon the planet, still in existence, men and women devoted to the stealing of men's light and the harnessing of that light for purposes of creating shadow and deceit. These individuals, whether they be few or many, I do not choose to reveal the quantity of individuals practicing these arts of deception, have no power in themselves, and I choose to give them none. But I speak to you today because it is necessary that men should know enough about the law so that they can stand guard and hold the beauty of the crown of achievement within their presence. You are a privileged few this day, seated here within the hearing of the sound of my voice, seated here within a circlet of my arms of love. And yet there are multitudes that ought to be here. There are some who are a part of this group that are not here this morning. Perhaps it occurred to them that they could not avoid their absenteeism. Well, beloved ones, I tell you, if they are not here because they are bored by the sameness of our offering, this is to their own hurt. For the wonders of eternity that are mirrored in the perfection of our words are the grace of heaven which saturate the finer bodies of those privileged to sit in our radiation, and develops within them the divine arts and graces that enable them to be blessed by the treasures of the saints. Those then who are shadowed individuals do project shadow, project boredom, and project feelings of sameness into spiritual groups in order to discourage the individuals from imbibing the fountain of divine grace. And yet the beauty of heaven pierces through, shining as the Holy Grail, and blessing mankind with the living Christ conception of immortal truth. They have no power. The power of divine beauty excels all other. And those who sup at the Lord's table are the privileged few. But, beloved ones, it is not the wish of the councils of the great white brotherhood to see this remain the forte of the privileged few. It is our wish to break our bread with the multitudes, to gather them together neath the wings of Almighty God, and make all one wonderful nation of pure divine love, wisdom, and power, dedicated to the expanding of the immortal flame of liberty, the conceptions of a divine culture in a golden age of enlightenment, where men no longer learning or mastering the arts of war, turning their pursuits into channels of peace, find in a spirit of divinely dominated domesticity a home and fireside where God is enshrined daily and hourly, where the chiming of the mantle clock is a call to prayer to the household, and where the Angelus is heard in the hearts of men who bow in prayer because they love. Beloved ones, if you pause now to think and to meditate, you will recognize that there is an affected reverence practiced by men, and there is a genuine reverence. The genuine reverence may not always be distinguishable to the outer eye, but to God, the ascended masters, it is the only shining reality. A human heart, having elected to pursue the divine art, the pursuit of the beloved by the beloved, magnifies God within the force field of their hearts and causes them to yearn for Him, for their own mighty I Am presence, to yearn to expand the flame that is within them. And as they bow their heads, it is with joy, sheer joy for the privilege. And the reverence, a genuine reverence, evokes the presence of life within them, floods them with immortal concepts, makes them one at the Lord's table. Drink ye all of it. Drink into it. As ye drink this cup, do it in remembrance of me. The chalice which I created for the Lord, the Maha Chohan, has brought happiness to the ascended host. But it was charged with my love for God, for my own mighty I Am presence. And the mighty I Am presence of each individual ascended being rejoices and will continue to rejoice in this chalice offering of my being. You all have so much to give. If it were not so, you would have been told. But beloved ones, you are being reminded today, humbly and graciously by myself, of the much that has been given you, that you might, in return, bestow much upon that divine being who has given so much unto you. Precious ones, can you deny that life has bestowed grace upon you? Would you deny it? If you could, I think not. You would affirm it, and the best affirmation, beloved ones, is to do the commandments of the Most High God. The commandments of God, in basic simplicity, extol the idea of loving your mighty I Am presence first and above all, and then loving your neighbor as yourself. When you do these things, you do it in remembrance of the living Christ. The shining robes he wore begin to envelop your form as you make come alive his conceptions of beauty, his conceptions of the Father, his conceptions of the mighty I Am Presence. Your own mighty I Am Presence yearns to bestow upon you the fullness of his love. As you open up the floodgates of your being to receive the mighty tide of life, it will sweep over you this tide, envelop you in the divine currents, and you will find no time to be bored, no eternity to be bored, or not a moment to be idle. But you will find rather the opportunity of life is beauty. And as you bask in those beauties that are life, you will desire, as I do, to create lovely articles, lovely concepts, spiritual ideas. You will recognize that you are a co-creator with God, that you are entitled to exercise the privilege of your divine artistry and to express those talents wisely. But, oh, precious ones, as I part from you this day, as you no longer hear my voice or the pulsations of my energy flowing through you, remember especially to endow your creation with the living truth of God. Many create a graven image. It is graven and stamped with the vibratory action of their outer self. Those who are sensitive see in it a twisted, a warped, a confused and imperfect concept. If it be offered in ignorance, but in divine love, it is accepted by their presence. But the sensitive know that it does not represent the best offering. Like the fruit of Cain, it is not the best and most acceptable offering unto deity. Learn then, beloved ones, as able of old, to offer the fruit not made as a graven image, but the fruit that is stamped with the divine seal of approval, the genuine qualities that represent the artistry of your divine self. Let the currents of that divine self penetrate through the very core of your creation, and it will be immortal. It is the stamp of immortality that makes it so. I thank you. Peace from the heart of Shambhala, from the brotherhood of light in this sacred city, be unto all the earth. I am come this day, filled with the ever outpouring, transcendent light of cosmic Christ's peace, longing to see expressed in the hearts of men everywhere a greater outpouring of that peace which floods forth from the open door of being. Beloved ones, the Prince of Peace, the ascended Christ, brought unto the world thousands of years ago a message which has stirred the hearts of men unto the present day. I am come this day to commend you to the universal message which has been given forth and which mankind have received but in part. And it is therefore to the dedication of the whole that I am come, that men understand that that which they have perceived of the radiance of our octaves is but a part of that shining glory which stands ready to unveil itself before those whose hearts are open, ready and waiting to receive. As I speak from Shambhala this morning, I am thinking of the many throughout the earth whose hearts are upheld in worship of their own mighty I Am presence, although not always known by the self-same name. I am thinking of the temple bells. I am thinking of the calls of the muezzin to prayer. I am thinking of the calls of mankind everywhere on behalf of one another. Some among mankind understand that the many calls of man make up a tremendous knock at the gate of heaven, and that this wondrous knocking at the gate of heaven brings about a response to the earth and the people of earth. Blessed ones, it does not matter how much human thought may stand arrayed against the perfection of God. It does not in the eternal realms alter the divine thought one iota. It is only in your octave, blessed ones, that mankind can affect their own world for good or for ill, and therefore it is in your octave that the correction must occur. Precious ones of the light, I am here today to radiate my peace unto you, the peace that accompanies the flow of life in its pristine power as it comes forth from the heart of God. Peace, beloved ones, is the natural quality of deity. It flows as a gentle stream, and were it to dash as a mighty ocean, it still would manifestly express the perfection of peaceful control, the obedience of God manifest in the obedience of his creation. Beloved ones, mankind today recognize that it is both needful to give and to receive, and therefore they give orders to one another and they receive orders. It has been considered prerequisite that mankind shall be willing to take orders if they expect to be able to give them. And so, beloved ones, the obedience of God himself is manifest in his own peace as it flows forth. For the Most High has confined himself in part within the creation which he has made, and he has offered his peace unto the world and unto the creation, together with every other good gift. It is so necessary, beloved ones, that each individual shall for themselves recognize the fullness of the divine gift. Precious ones of the light, I call to your attention that throughout the world there are many individuals today who would not know a diamond if they saw one, especially if it were a diamond in the rough. Therefore, beloved ones, it is essential that mankind develop that discrimination and God control which will enable them to recognize the perfection of their own presence, which will enable them to recognize the peace of their own presence as it flows forth. I would touch for a moment upon the higher vibratory action of our spheres. Some among you are able to sense the tremendous outpouring of our radiance as it flows forth in worded expression. Others among you may not yet have awakened the fullness of the divine sense, whereby you are able to sense the vibratory action of our outpouring as it occurs during these periods when we speak to you. But, beloved ones, I tell you, be patient all, and in your patience possess your souls. For patience must do her perfect work, and the love of God must be held in the stillness until the matrix so divine may create in that which is being molded the perfection of its own immortal image, the image of love expressed in love. Beloved ones, pause for a moment and consider. You yourselves may not be at this moment a manifest expression of the fullness of love in your own minds, but you are in the mind of God, and therefore it is up to you to turn your attention unto that higher Christ mind within your being, and there to dwell and abide in the calm repose of knowing that that mind is the reality, that that mind is the genuine you, and that all lesser expressions are only the maya and the delusion of the centuries accumulated as dust upon stored articles in attics, and serving no useful purpose to mankind except to provide a measure of accumulated effluvia which mankind must one day dispose of or transmute in order that they may express the perfection of their own divine being. Beloved ones, I call your attention now to the manifest plan of the hierarchy. Many among mankind today are dwelling in great fear, and their hearts are concerned because of the constantly vacillating situation on the political scene. Many today among the religions of the world are confused concerning the tenets of their own religion. They ask themselves secretly within the quiet recesses of their being, which way shall I go? For among mankind today there are few who in their heart do not desire to find happiness and express perfection when once they understand the laws of perfection. But there is a great need for two requisites, beloved ones. First of all, for capable teachers to go forth, provided with divine understanding and attunement with the higher octaves. And the second requisite is always an open and receptive heart on the part of mankind. Beloved ones, you must recognize, therefore, that you enter into this equation as an individual. You are an expression of God, but you are a free will expression of God, who must decide for yourselves that you will open up the gateways of your being unto the higher radiating power that comes from your own mighty I Am presence, and desire to have the fullness of that presence express itself within the folds of your being. Unless you open that door and respond to that knock, beloved ones, you cannot have the full benefit of that which is radiated forth. I will give you an illustration. Beloved ones, mankind call for light, and the sun comes up faithfully each day, and sheds its beneficent light upon the planetary body. Those who dwell as the moles in the heart of the earth, those who dwell in tunnels and emerge not forth to the light of the sun, they do not receive the benefits of its healing rays. Can they then curse the darkness, beloved ones, because of the fact that they have elected to remain beneath the surface of the earth? I think not in fairness or in justice, but, precious ones, honesty of heart will cause mankind to desire to turn to the light, that the light may itself endow them with the fullness of those immortal garments of perfection, which are the raiment of heaven. The word, beloved ones, raiment, comes from man's deeper understanding in past ages, for it refers to the power of the ray. The raiment then refers to the radiance of God. When garments of light were spun from eternal light substance, and men were not concerned with the vanities of the flesh, but in their own calm and marvelous being, they drew forth from the heart of their own presence the understanding that enabled them to be able to comprehend the voice of God speaking within their own consciousness. Precious ones of the light, you have heard it said, and you are familiar somewhat to my illumination which occurred beneath the bow tree. Well, beloved ones, the illumination of every man is a form of initiation. At that precise moment which mankind so dearly enjoy bringing into a time context, an individual becomes illumined and a doorway opens. This, beloved ones, is only the opening of the door. It is up to the individual then to walk through and to journey into a new country, to behold new sights and sounds, to have that illumination, the illumination of the journey, penetrate into their etheric memory body, and then return back through that open door into the world of reality, which is their previous existence. I hope that you understand me, beloved ones. I am referring to man as an individual, familiar with name and identity, entering into a state of divine illumination and proceeding to observe the universe in an extra-terrestrial sense, outside of the body and the form and the former concepts, then returning into the physical consciousness once again, and being able to relate those events which have occurred to the identity of his own being. Beloved ones, when this occurs, and the individual is then vested with this illumination, there is much yet that remains to be done by that individual in order to derive the benefits of the illumination which has been given to them. They must absorb, they must translate, they must transmute, they must transfigure in themselves all that is not yet perfected. Simply because individuals, through meditation or illumination, are exposed to the higher radiance of the eternal spheres, does not mean that they automatically then and there find their freedom. They have been initiated, it is true, but there is so much yet remaining to be done before the perfection of their worlds can manifest. And so, quite contrary to human opinion, while I possessed a magnificently, divinely ordained gift and grace after my illumination beneath the bow tree, there still remained to be done in my world a tremendous application of that glorious gift that was given to my hand. And therefore, for your illumination, for your love, and for your assistance this day, in the name of the cosmic Christ peace of life, I come to you to remind you that there is no time, beloved ones, for individuals to simply waste, as it were, along the spiritual pathway. when individuals are privileged to receive a measure of divine illumination, or to hear a dictation from our octave such as you are hearing today, it remains for them to assimilate, to appreciate, to translate, and to put that information to good use, that the God of their being may be glorified within them, and that they may reap in their world not the whirlwind of outer world maya and delusion, but the tranquility of the inner spheres, the peace that commands the elements of their being to remain in divine order when all around them seems to be turbulent, the God control that can remain asleep in the face of the storms of life and arise to the occasion to direct and say, "Peace, be still," and the world, the elements and outer conditions will obey that one. Unless man manifests these powers of the Spirit to provide himself with tranquility in the face of outer world disturbances, how can he expect to be an example that shall enable mankind to take faith, to rise again into the octaves of immortality, to understand the greatness of the God of their being, to come up over all outer conditions, and to be a manifest expression of cosmic Christ peace? Beloved ones, as I am now here, I desire to enfold each one of you within the cosmic flame of my illumination. I therefore call unto your holy Christ selves, each one, and I say to those of you who will receive me, accept from my heart the wrapping and enveloping in love of your holy Christ self by the illumination flame of my being. Accept the assistance of the brothers at Shambhala for and on behalf of the immortal light, the light of God that does not fail, that is within thee, and will raise thee up on high, until in the glory of thy own being, thy own mighty I am presence, you shall understand one and all that your freedom is in existence now, and that you exist in the heart of that freedom, and by that freedom will be able to show the way unto mankind to overcome all inequities, all imperfection, all shortcomings in this civilization, and build for the future's children and all that shall one day step upon this planet an age of golden perfection, when the flame of illumination which blazes now shall blaze in all, and the knowledge of God shall cover the earth, even as the waters cover the sea. Beloved ones, I call to your attention now the need to accept and to drink in all that I am offering, to absorb, to assimilate, to understand. This is not the service of a moment. It is the service of a lifetime. It is the dedication of dedicated hearts. In the Orient, where so many pour their devotion to me daily, there are many Buddhic priests, beloved ones, whose lives you would do well to emulate, and yet I would not tell you, beloved ones, to follow them in the ritual of their faith insofar as the outer activity of that faith goes. I am speaking now of their devotion, a devotion that is often made unto God without the knowledge which you have. Beloved ones, seeing that they have offered so much of themselves to the heart of God, without the knowledge of the sacred fire that is given to you today in this teaching, I think then you can see the need to dedicate more of your hours unto God, that they be shining hours, illumined hours, hours that shall reward you for all eternity with freedom from outer oppression and discord, and shall make of you a starry example in the firmament of this planet, which will give faith to those around you that contact your world. You are lights in the world. Men look to Shambhala for light. Let them look also to you, for you come into direct contact with them, and many are not able to receive my being and existence and my reality and the reality of life, but they are able to see yours. For they see with their senses and with mortal eyes. You see with the eyes of immortality, and in those eyes is the perception of God. But precious ones, all must be contacted. All must be given opportunity to have illumination, and it must come by orderly steps and progression, insomuch that some men will forge ahead in an entire embodiment, but a half a foot length, and still others will go for hundreds of miles. You must understand the differences in individuals and their expressions, but you must see that the one who is able to walk but a half a foot length is not hindered from walking that distance. I thank you and bid you good morning.
God of happiness, God Ling beloved, welcome to our hearts today. By your smiling presence now remove every shadow from our way. God Ling, God Ling, God Ling, happiness you bring. Make earth feel your presence, making every heart to sing. Master, teacher, friend of our fun way, teach us all your mastery too. Teach us how to let God's love hold sway, making joyous all we do. God Ling, God Ling, God Ling, happiness you bring. Make earth feel your presence, making every heart to sing. Let your buoyancy of love's release fill our worlds with sunshine bright. Help us walk the pathway home in ease, grateful, making all things right. God Ling, God Ling, God Ling, happiness you bring. Make earth feel your presence, making every heart to sing. Let your consciousness of victory won lift the strain and stress from all. Every gift of love from out the sun, for you, dearest friend, we call. God Ling, God Ling, God Ling, happiness you bring. Make earth feel your presence, making every heart to sing. God Ling, God Ling, God Ling, happiness you bring. Make earth feel your presence, making every heart to sing.
In his previous embodiment, long before his ascension as Lord Ling, as he flashes his words through me, we ask that you give him your reverent attention. Through the caravan of the years, the eternal spirit of life and truth has radiated out to a planet, extending unto man more tangible hands than those outpictured and depicted by Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel as picturing for mankind the hand of God in action. Beloved ones, The hand of God is a tangible, active principle directed to mankind and enfolding mankind within the hollow of the eternal presence. Man today often feel alone. They feel bereft, as it were, of friend. They feel neglected, and they feel a complete set of seething emotions somewhat resembling a turbulent sea. I have stood by the Red Sea and have parted the waters thereof. Beloved ones, it was the eternal presence that moved through me, that performed that miracle in days gone by. And it will be for every man the hand of God that will part the waters of affliction and all those conditions which are less than perfection, and enable that one to walk through to the dry land perfection of the promised land upon the other side. Precious ones, I call to your attention that mankind may scientifically, poetically, and musically outpicture songs, stories, and formulas whereby they may attempt to glorify God. But the simple glory of God radiating within the human heart is the tangible light of God that does not fail, which is the light of the eternal presence, burning and blazing its Shekinah glory within the Holy of Holies within man. It is therefore this presence which is the guide and the principle and the connection between every life stream and eternal reality. Beloved ones of the light, those of you who are familiar with historical epics are able to derive from them immense satisfaction as you peruse the printed page and recognize in the human struggles to find some measure of perfection the hand of God functioning through an individual and guiding that one through what may at times seem devious ways that lead to perfection. You have also heard it said that the ways of the Most High are far above men's ways. I say unto you, beloved ones, the fruit of this statement is known by me from first-hand experience, and I am today an ascended being, a part of that radiant band of immortal perfection who are concerned with those individuals representing mankind upon earth today, precious to the heart of their own divinity and to the heart of that divinity which rules the universe and would make of every man, woman, and child an ark of safety and a holy place where the hand of God could be seen in action as a living flame. The burning bush, the pillar of fire, the cloud of witness is within everyone who will recognize the reality of their own life. Life, beloved ones, does not differ from one individual outpicturing of deity in man to another. All men are created with the equality of the mighty threefold flame blazing in their heart. Individuals have chosen voluntarily to follow the path of perfection, sent to them and directed to them by their own mighty God presence. Some have therefore elected to pursue the path of music, others the path of art, some the pathway of service, whereby the work and service of their hands is rendered unto man as unto Caesar and unto God. But I say to you, beloved ones, the eternal presence is working out the salvation of every one in whom abides the presence of life, simply because some men are not aware of the fact that this invisible to their eyes deity is there, does not in any measure remove his presence from them. It does, however, create a veil between the individual and their own presence, whereby there is an opaque condition hanging as a curtain of shadow between themselves and the sun of their presence. It is the desire of every ascended being to cut asunder this veil, to permit mankind to gaze upon the face of eternal reality, that in the seeing of that reality they may change the outer conditions because of the inspiration that will come to their being as they behold the perfection which streams forth from within them, exercising the power of its mighty light rays to draw to them magnetically all conditions of light which will give them their immortal freedom and lead them to the promised land of perfection. Beloved ones, in this epic, in this saga, which I personally lived as Moses, there is much to be drawn to the present day of inspiration. There is also much to be learned, beloved ones, by mankind, as they behold how individuals who witness time on time again the voice of God speaking from Horeb's height, who witnessed miracle after miracle, and yet turned away from the light and sought after the gods of neighboring countries, turning their backs upon the light that brought them out of the bondage of Egypt, and forgetting the presence of immortality within them and the promises of God. Beloved ones, mankind today are very much like mankind that came out of Egypt and out of bondage. Mankind today often forget when the calls of heaven go out to them, and they hear the voice of God speaking to them, and they obey that voice, and the blessing of heaven descends upon them. Then at a later time, in this embodiment, beloved ones, individuals forget the blessings which descended to them in response to their calls, and they move away from the very presence that gave them life, and do not even know when they are departing. This is a sad state of affairs, beloved ones, and one that is quite needless. For mankind, if they will but recognize the eternal purpose, will realize that God does not change from one day to the next, but remains as constant as the North Pole, as the North Star, as the sun within the heavens. God remains fixed, unalterable as law and as grace. Mankind today may recognize that this law, the law of God, is written within their inward parts. As it has been said, I will write my laws within their hearts and minds. Therefore the mighty I Am presence within mankind has written and inscribed by the power of his own Spirit the light of God within mankind. This light, beloved ones, is in the eye of those illumined ones who are able to have that vision and perception which can sift truth from error and recognize in the so-called invisible world the complete freedom from all human density and the power of immortality in action. Beloved ones, I come to you today on behalf of beloved El Morya and the Darjeeling Council. I come to you today on behalf of the Great White Brotherhood as an august fraternity who have long loved and served the mankind of earth, to tell you that the purposes of the Great White Brotherhood have been and remain the blessing of every life stream upon this planet, the issuing forth to mankind of the mandates of heaven, whereby the entire earth will become free from every form of self-imposed bondage which mankind have imposed upon one another, both of a commercial nature as well as a political nature. Beloved ones, it is the will of God to give all nations their freedom, that every nation under God might have liberty, and a new birth of liberty might infuse the hearts of the people of earth. This is not a single-faceted outpicturing of liberty. Beloved ones, it is the fullness of the many facets of liberty in action. Therefore, mankind shall receive liberty from disease, from discomfort, from disunity, from inharmony, and from all those conditions which have plagued the mankind of earth and have prevented the plans of the Great White Brotherhood from succeeding through the centuries. Think you not, beloved ones, that this nation and all nations of the world would long ago not have been delivered from the menaces which now threaten world peace and unity if they had all pulled together? Beloved ones, I tell you, they would indeed have been free. But mankind are often uncertain, and in their wavering and uncertainty they fail to recognize that they are serving the causes of confusion rather than serving the causes of the light. The light, beloved ones, is the light that lighteth every man who cometh into the world. Each child at birth is endowed with this consciousness which enables them to perceive the world of form, to recognize their parents and loved ones, to expand their light through their embodiment upon earth, that they might, in entering earth's schoolrooms, learn those lessons which the great law of God requires, and find their ultimate freedom by their victory over untoward outer conditions. When mankind fail to master outer conditions, and outer conditions master them, they go down under those conditions and set themselves backward rather than moving forward into the light. Inasmuch as this is the reverse of the divine intent, it behooves mankind to constantly recognize that God is extending his hands to them to help them to move forward into the light. Unless they recognize that these hands are extended, they cannot receive the full benefit of that which the Father intends for them. Only by opening up the door of their hearts, by responding to the ministrations of those appointed to minister to the earth by divine edict, can mankind find their eternal and immortal freedom. Beloved ones, the hour is now at hand when the earth is destined to be delivered from many untoward conditions. It is hoped by the great karmic board that a baptism of fire will be spared the mankind of earth, and that the only fire that will be required is the wonderful transmuting violet flame, the gift of the beloved ascended Master Saint Germain, and the mighty I Am Presence to the hearts of mankind. But, beloved ones, mankind must recognize the need to be constantly aware of the hand of God in action through all constructive endeavors. But they must also recognize that the Great White Brotherhood must, in the due course of time, elect to release a harmonious dispensation through a select group of individuals in order that they might perpetuate divine truth at a certain level of consciousness. Beloved ones, I would like to point out to you that although there are many, many religious organizations in existence upon this planet, that although there are many religious people upon this planet, most of them fall into some specific category whereby they can either accept or reject some specific religious equation which is calculated to give them their divine freedom. Well, beloved ones, unless mankind recognize that it is necessary for individuals to fit into some specific niche and that there must be some specific outpouring of the highest radiation possible upon this planet, they cannot fully understand the complete plan of the Great White Brotherhood for releasing the Ascended Master's law into action among mankind. Beloved ones, simply because all people do not accept the truth does not mean that they should not have some spiritual sustenance, and therefore the great masters have always dispensed unto mankind through various religious endeavors some outpouring of the perfection of life, but they have reserved to the highest outpicturings those specific radiations and qualities which will give mankind their eternal freedom in the light. Therefore, this is an answer to the questions of those individuals who wonder why there are divisions among the higher echelons of spiritual organizations. Beloved ones, these divisions are never created by the Great White Brotherhood. They are never created by the Ascended Masters. They are never created except by human consciousness, because some individual does not desire to recognize the need to be humble at a specific moment, but insists upon asserting their own human free will, is no cause for the Ascended Masters to turn their backs upon mankind and refuse to help them. Nay, we will continue to outpour our radiance through this outpost here in Washington, D.C., so long as mankind love this movement and are willing to sustain its action by their decrees and their service to life. Beloved ones, it is our intent to increase the outpouring of the radiance through this outpost until we have welded together a very formidable body of servers who will serve the light with all their heart, and enable the lawmakers and legislators of this great nation to derive a tremendous inspiration from proximity to the radiation which we are outpouring here upon Capitol Hill. Beloved ones, I would like to say unto you that it is the intention of the Great White Brotherhood to give mankind a new freedom and a new birth of freedom. This is not a new intent, but it is a new push of the same old intent which God has ever held locked within his heart, to give mankind their freedom en masse. Beloved ones, think you that if you were a shepherd, beloved ones, and that all of the people upon earth were a part of your flock, that you would desire to see any of them go astray? I tell you, nay. But all mankind are the sheep in this mighty sheepfold of light, and the Good Shepherd does not desire to see any of them go astray. And therefore the radiation and love of the Ascended Masters continues to pour forth day after day, hour after hour, to mankind seeking their divine unity in the never-failing light of God. Mankind, however, must continually be aware themselves of the need to sift the chaff from the wheat, to recognize that that which is our outpouring is peaceable and is freeing, creating within them a freeing action which brings them to the very summit of life. Beloved ones, unless mankind recognize for themselves what is truth, they cannot themselves receive and derive the full benefit from it. Only when mankind recognize that the light is all around them, and that as the fish swim in the sea, so mankind moves in the great cosmic light, can they derive the full benefit of that light. Simply to sit in the radiation of the Ascended Masters, to feel the mighty pulsations of the light waves pouring out upon you, is not going to give you the full assistance of your ascension, beloved ones, unless you shall absorb that radiation into your feeling world, and shall be impelled by it to so act and so direct your life and the very atoms and cells of your being, that they shall shine with the full radiance and iridescence of the ascended Jesus Christ consciousness. Now, beloved ones, I ask you, in the holy name of heaven, what more can we do for you than we have done in the past? How much more love and light could we pour out to you unless you yourselves would open up the door that is within you, in order that that door that is so much ajar might swing wide to receive, and then to give that which you receive out unto others. Beloved ones, you have a most holy mission, a mission made holy by the heart of your own presence, whose heart beats your own physical heart and sustains the action of the threefold flame within it. Beloved ones, this threefold flame carries the threefold radiance, the pink, blue, and gold of love, wisdom, and power in action. It is like a rainbow of the eternal promise within you, pulsating and rising upon the altar of your hearts. It is a part of the radiance of Helios and Vesta, and of Alpha and Omega within the great central sun. It is that life and light and love which sustains all men upon the planet. But, beloved ones, although all bask in the same radiance, all do not derive the same benefit from that radiance. Those of you who are lovers of nature have wandered in the forest, and you have noted how that in a flower bed many of the flowers are expansive and effulgent, how that they seem to reflect the glory of the sun and the beauty of life in their coloring, and yet others are stunted and shriveled in appearance, and do not seem, although a part of the same flower bed, to have received the same nourishment from the earth. Well, beloved ones, it is never the fault of the earth, it is never the fault of the sun or of nature. Actually, beloved ones, where mankind are concerned in this analogy, it is ever the cause of mankind himself, which he has set up within his own world. It is the result of mankind's recalcitrance and unbelief. It is the result of mankind's having sealed the very door that opens into the octaves of heaven. Beloved ones, by their thoughts, their feelings, and the hardness of their hearts. I personally coped with so many individuals during my embodiment in the land of Palestine and across the desert sands. Beloved ones, I tell you that it is necessary for mankind to be soft-hearted to their own divinity and hard-hearted toward the world. I hope that you understand exactly what I mean. I am referring to the injunction, let no man take thy crown. Beloved ones, each one of you individually must give account to your own mighty I Am presence for every act. I tell you, beloved ones, no one else can cause you to enter in to the straight gate. No one else can give you your freedom. You can only receive your freedom by the response which you make to your own presence and to the heart thereof. It is because of the great love I feel, and the great love the entire great white brotherhood feel for all mankind, that we tell you this organization here and throughout the world represents a magnificent outpouring of ascended master love and light to mankind. As it expands, the very freedom of the earth will expand with it. We must have a body through which to function. That body must have loyal and unified hearts to support its endeavors. That body must have individuals who recognize the spiritual energies which are channeled into it. Beloved ones, it is the loyalty to your own mighty I Am presence that will keep you anchored in this endeavor, recognizing that you are banded together for a purpose, And that purpose is to show mankind that regardless of how many steps on this ladder of spiritual achievement the great white brotherhood have sponsored in the past, this as the pinnacle in the present hour shall give to mankind the greatest opportunity which the love of life can offer. Do you understand the meaning of those words? I say to you again, the greatest opportunity which the love of life can offer. Beloved ones, this is not an opportunity manufactured by some individual in their own mind or heart. It is an opportunity which is created by the love of ascended beings around those spiritual council tables in the retreats of the brotherhood throughout the earth. It is the response of heaven to the decrees and prayers of millions of people. And therefore I tell you that unless mankind shall recognize it speedily and get behind it to push it forward with every ounce of energy within their being, how can the answers of the many sheep be answered as they call unto God, saying, how long shall we wait for our hour of deliverance? Beloved ones, each grain of sand, each drop of water helps to compose the planetary body or the body of the ocean. Each one of you, in rendering your specific service to life, are necessary in the fulfilling of the divine plan that gives mankind their freedom. I am making a plea today to you in the holy name of God, for the sake of Saint Germain, for the sake of El Moria, for the sake of all the ascended host, so that you yourselves will hear this plea and in your response assist this mounting mighty momentum of light to roll forward in the fullness of all God's victory and enter the promised land for the entire earth and its environs. I thank you in the name of God for all of your attention this morning. And I tell you, beloved ones, you will never regret the attention which you pay to the heart of your own presence and the loyalty which you give unto your own mighty I Am presence, both now and in all the days to come. After all, beloved ones, this is the day of your salvation. You are here today, presently embodied in this earth, although there are millions waiting at the portals of birth for a body. You are a body, a breathing, sentient, living being, given the flame of life for this hour. Make the most of it, beloved ones, that you may not find at the end that when that day of reckoning dawns, that you have fallen short of the mark simply because of some individual human statement made by those who are not informed at all as to the immortal plans of God. Ladies and gentlemen, in the holy name of heaven, I speak to you as I did to the children of Israel of old. Come now out from among them and be ye a separate people, and establish yourselves in the divine radiance, and you shall know that I am the Lord thy God, that brought thee out of the land of bondage, and established thee in the immortal freedom of all life, the radiant flaming perfection that blazes in the burning bush and does not consume the man in whom it abides, but bestows upon him those immortal vestments which will make him a shining son of heaven before the face of his Father immortal. I thank you, and I bid you good morning in the name of your own beloved I Am present.